Hello and welcome to Weird Around Illinois. Now, some of you have probably been wondering why we haven't been doing as many field investigations lately. And there are a number of reasons for this. We have actually reduced our number of field investigations over the fall because of COVID and an ankle injury and a work schedule and just general fall weirdness. The fact is we have been doing some investigations. They just haven't quite worked out the way we wanted them to. And rather than make you suffer through a single episode for each of our epic fails when we've gone out looking for ghosts, we decided to lump them all into one big episode so we can tell you all about the ghosts we didn't find. So with that in mind, let's get weird.
Now, the first one that we can start with is honestly more of like one of our older ones. We did this one probably quite a few months ago. But Shoe Factory Road. At first, we learned about the history. Apparently there was a family that got murdered. There wasn't a completely confirmed way of how it came about. There were theories that like one member of the family just was not mentally stable and decided to kill the whole family for whatever reason. And there's another theory that just some person broke in and killed the family. Nobody really knows the complete story.
We were excited about this one. I mean, we even did like a pre-podcast on this one once. Well, not entirely on the road, but on haunted roads in general. And we talked a lot about how excited we were to see Shoe Factory Road.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded promising.
What was the haunting that people saw there again?
There were sightings of like a ghost house or farmhouse, to be more specific. And then there was also one unique one of a small boy playing with a knife in the middle of the road. I think the theory was that if you go up a road at 37 miles per hour, you'd like see that boy. Or
another one of those?
Yeah, yeah, another one of those.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that from Rainbow Road, I think.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's funny how all these road myths kind of combine.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing about the stop in front of the railroad tracks and the little hands will push your car onto the track. And
yeah, or like the powder on like your car.
Yeah, so you can see the handprints afterwards.
Wait, isn't Cuba Road, Rainbow Road, and Shoe Factory Road kind of connected?
No.
Okay.
Shoe Factory is further south. Cuba Road's further up there, but
Okay.
Similar stories though. Disappearing little boys and the farmhouse. The farmhouse, I'm not sure on Shoe Factory Road if it actually disappeared or if they just tore it down after all the horrible stuff that happened there.
I don't know.
In any case, we never saw a farmhouse.
No, that was just a Bryce style case. We drove by on multiple occasions, actually. If I recall, it was just a rich neighborhood, wasn't it?
Part of it was a really nice neighborhood. Part of it was like farms, and part of it was like forest preserves. And we did stop in the forest preserve for a while. It was right at dark, and I remember we parked there and we listened to my super-powered spirit box and asked a couple questions and got no real responses. And then we wandered up the road in the forest preserve a little bit, and we were checking EMF readings, and we were asking questions and looking around, and I gotta tell you, I have never felt less haunted in my life than I did on Shoe Factory Road.
The road was way too busy. There were like constantly cars coming back and forth.
That's true. The scariest part about that road was the traffic.
Yeah. We did try and turn around quite a few times to go back on the road, but it was challenging.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was any other road in the northwest suburbs. There was nothing haunted about it. There was nothing scary about it. When we got off the road and walked around, I didn't get that chill up my spine like we were walking into a haunted area. It was just a place.
Yeah. You want to look for like places that are more abandoned, a little bit dead.
Yeah. Yeah, so that kind of started us on our fall journey into wasted time. And that was, as you said, that was the way back end of summer, beginning of fall, probably about 3 or 4 months ago. But it wasn't too long after that we decided to try something a little different, since some of these haunted spots we felt may have been haunted out. Too many people have gone to them and the ghosts have gotten tired or made peace and moved on or whatever. We got this idea, what if we go to a spot that isn't reported as haunted, but we know a tragedy happened there? So we went to a spot of a horrible car crash in Wheeling, Illinois, where I believe it was 4 teenagers were killed. It's actually fairly recent. It was about a year ago. Actually, less than a year ago, now that I think about 6 months ago. But we went to this intersection, and we hung out in the intersection. Well, not in the intersection, but on the side of the road at the intersection. Otherwise, we would have been a tragic accident. We used a variety of tools. We used our EMF detector. The first time we went, we also used the spirit box. I had the recorder running the first time we were there. We made multiple visits to this site. There really wasn't much. I mean, again, busy road, lots of traffic. It felt like every time, we asked a question, we were answered with a car roaring by.
Yeah, it was a busy road. You couldn't have heard much.
Yeah. And when I played back the recording, the traffic noises were so overwhelming that, there were a couple things that I thought, well, wow, that sounded almost like a response, but it could have just as easily been somebody on a motorcycle or something. I don't know. It was very disappointing.
Yeah.
So from there, we went to another site of a Midwestern tragedy that is somewhat more famous. The site of the Brown's Chicken Massacre in Palatine. This is a spot where 7 people were killed in a Brown's Chicken. The place was robbed for like $1,500 or something, and it was all over the news back when it happened. I think in the early '90s. Just horrendous execution-style murders. And there was actually a little paranormal activity recorded here after it happened. There were people in the area reported rapid temperature changes, cold spots, things moving around, and just this feeling of evil in the area, or this feeling of dread. Now, what I realized too late is that most people reported that these feelings went away after the murderers were caught and brought to justice a few years ago. The site's been torn down, it's been replaced with a bank, and we went there and basically stood in the parking lot of the bank right about where the Brown's Chicken building would have been, and we conducted another one of our weird investigations with nothing but loud traffic noise around us.
Yeah.
And whistling wind.
And coldness.
Yeah, it was. It got really cold that night for some reason. But I will say there was one bit of weirdness attached to this, and I still haven't played the tape for you guys. I have to do that, and maybe we'll even throw it onto this or a future podcast. But we were all watching the EMF detector, and you were even recording it, and it never moved, never spiked, never anything to indicate anything going on there. But on the recording, after I asked a series of questions, I clearly heard the EMF detector spiking, the sound.
That's weird. It's almost like like a minor Mandela effect. It's just like none of us really saw the spike, but like now all of a sudden it happened.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting if we can ever corroborate the recording with your video recording and see if we see anything like when that spike takes place on the audio.
Yeah.
I got recording too, so I'll have to check that.
Oh, cool.
Bunch of angles. We're gonna have to really do a full investigation on our recordings later.
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah, maybe we'll throw that together into a short or something to do over the winter, so that you guys can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But that was all we got there, other than really, really cold and hearing. And this was like 11 o'clock at night, and there's still traffic streaming by constantly. Yeah. There's too many people in the northwest suburbs. The ghosts are probably scared off by the people.
Yeah.
And so that leads us to our final failed ghost investigation.
Yeah. It's a restaurant called Mrs. P and Me. People apparently saw like a shadowy figure and like objects moving in this restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much more about the history though.
Yeah, it's a very old restaurant. I think it was like over 100 years old. Kind of a bar and restaurant kind of place.
Yeah.
And it's changed ownership a few times. What you described, I mean, that was basically all I read about it in terms of haunting. So it sounded pretty standard in terms of haunted restaurants. And we went in there and ordered our food, and I expected to have the same experience we had every time we went to a haunted restaurant, where I would mention it to the waitress, and she would immediately launch into her stories and tell us who to talk to with their stories. And, you know, I thought we were going to get a full podcast out of this one. No.
Simple answer. The staff just didn't know.
Yeah, the waitress basically looked at us like there was something wrong with us and said, "Oh my gosh, I hope this place isn't haunted." So, I felt bad. I felt like I scared the poor lady.
Yeah. But I swear on the website they had one section that explained some like hauntings they had.
Yeah, and you know, I would have been tempted to talk to the other guy we interacted with, but he was doing some sort of trivia show that night, and he was really wrapped up in that, and I didn't want to, you know, pull him away from it.
Yeah. And again, just so busy. It's hard to find any hauntings when there's so many people around.
Yeah, it was like a Wednesday night, and it was hopping in there.
Yeah.
That place was crazy busy for a Wednesday night. And then, you know, I guess we would be remiss if we didn't mention the food, because we always talk about the food when we visit haunted restaurants. I think I had the skirt steak. It was solid. Nothing wrong with it. It was good.
Yeah.
I had the like bacon burger, barbecue bacon burger probably, but I get that from every restaurant for the record.
Yeah.
I just am the judge for bacon burgers.
I remember we were driving by a restaurant the other day, and I mentioned, "Hey, we'll have to try that sometime." And you're like, do you think they have a barbecue bacon burger?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, yeah, we could try it then.
Yeah, but from what I can remember, it was of course solid, as you said, with your meal.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't anything special above and beyond. It was pretty good though.
Yeah.
I had barbecue ribs.
Wow.
The sauce is a little sweet, but I think it's still good.
I remember the cheese curds were above average.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
they're pretty good.
better than your average Culvers, that's for sure.
Yeah. Not quite on the level with the place we went to in Galena with the weird cheese cube things that were virtually unbreaded.
Yeah.
But that was a whole other thing. That was fantastic. But, you know, they're really close to Wisconsin too, so I guess you have to expect it.
Yeah.
So that was our experience on all of our ghost hunts throughout the fall of 2023. We hope to have good ghost hunts for you in the future that we can share with you, where we actually find things and talk to people who've seen things and have better news for you. But fall 2023 was one big epic ghost fail for us, and so we're moving on.
And we had more than this, like in the past too, like Rainbow Road. I don't remember anything happening there.
Yeah, that's true.
We've had a lot more, but it's just not worth the time at this point.
The last good ghost thing we had was probably Galena. And I know, you know, people have advised us to go back there. I'm starting to think that may be our best bet if we want to experience a real haunting.
Yeah. We have had some strange stuff happen there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, anyway, thank you for listening to our tales of misery and failure. If you'd like to share any real haunting stories with us, we'd love to hear them. But as always, thank you for listening and thank you for subscribing.